Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. I apologize about the horrible bad lighting. It has came dark time in California, and I tried making this video on my lunch, but as I was making this video, my boss's boss walked by, and I totally lost all track and complete, I just blew it, basically, big time, so I wasn't able to upload my video on my lunch. So here I am making the video before I get home. I know I got a ton of stuff on my plate tonight, so I'm going to try to knock this out and get it up there out there. This is just basically talking about the Jim Ross retirement / firing that happened today, and I don't know, honestly, people say this a lot, but honestly, I was thinking about Jim Ross's retirement just yesterday. I was trying to put the pieces in my mind of when he actually stopped announcing full-time. I remember that he was on SmackDown. He was there, he was announcing with Mick Foley, and then he was announcing with Taz when Taz switched over. What mainly really started to get me thinking about Jim Ross yesterday was just him being moved over during the draft on Monday Night Raw one night, and then he just took to Twitter. Basically, this was back before wrestlers were really into Twitter. This is probably 2010, if I can remember off the top of my head. And he just started shooting about, being taken off Monday Night Raw, being put on SmackDown. I was very, very surprised, ultimately, that he didn't get fired then. Jim Ross, honestly, will always, in my mind, be the best announcer. There's been other great announcers. I'm sure people that are older than me, Gordon Soley's going to be a guy that probably hits with somebody like Above Average Muda. There's the great announcer that was the announcer for Memphis Wrestling. I really fell in love with him watching the Memphis Heat documentary. I really thought about it, and when you're watching that documentary, one of the main reasons that Jim Cornette gave to that announcer was why he was so good was because he never let his credibility slip. And that was one thing that I really took up with Jim Ross as well. If a pay-per-view was coming and it was going to suck, Jim Ross told you the pay-per-view was coming. He didn't come out and tell you that, the greatest pay-per-view in the world was coming up, knowing that you're going to throw your $30 down and then you're going to be pissed at the end. Sometimes they surprise you, but a lot of good times, a good wrestling fan can spot a shit pay-per-view before it happens. Like, I'm sure Jim Ross wasn't pumping up one of the Great American Bashes or ECW December to Dismember before it happened. It just sort of fell into place, and he told you that's when it was going to be, and if you watched it, you watched it. If you didn't, you didn't. But if fucking Stone Cold versus The Rock at WrestleMania was around the corner, he was knocking on your door to make sure you knew that there's no way in the world he was going to not let you buy that show. He was going to let you know that basically the world was going to end if you don't get that show. I think everybody can remember him doing the Monday Night Raws during the Attitude Eras. He was the guy on that desk, and basically they stole him from WCW. I mean, like, he should have been the guy, but for some reason, I believe it was it wasn't Jim Herd, because he was a Jim Herd guy. Somebody stepped in and said they didn't need to have two top announcers. They just flat out fired him to keep Shivani, and when they when they fired him, WWF picked him up. They didn't need him at the time. If you can remember him being like the announcer like at WrestleMania 9, and then just he's basically on Superstars here and there. It was a long time before he really moved into being the #1 announcer for WWF. He was just like, sort of like trying to use a sports analogy here, just basically like the San Francisco 49ers. They signed Steve Young to be their backup quarterback, knowing that he was going to be the quarterback of the future, but they had fucking Joe Montana there at the time. Joe Montana being Vince McMahon for the WWF announcing crew. He was the #1 guy, and Vince honestly didn't want to give up that #1 spot. I think he basically came along with doing, the pride of his work, and it was his baby, and it was his company, and he wanted to mold Jim Ross into the guy that he wanted him to be. And basically the time came where Vince stepped away, and JR took the ball and he rolled with it, and he announced every big match you can think about, and You know, two of the biggest matches that he's announced in his past that'll go down. Well, he did some NXT shit, but you know, two of the best matches that you can think of off the top of your head was both Triple H versus Taker matches. Both Triple H versus Taker matches at WrestleMania 27 and 28. JR came out there and he was like this special guest announcer. 27, they had a storyline because Cole got the shit kicked out of him. I think that was basically what took him out of the show. 28. Honestly, I think they just walked him out there and said, here's fucking JR, Hall of Famer, and then put him out there. JR's, you know, had a so-so relationship with Vince McMahon. I think everybody can remember Dr. McMahon working on JR. You know, this was days after he had his cancer treatment. You know, that basically, you know, it didn't save his life, but it basically, if he didn't have the surgery, you know, basically, it would have killed him in the long run. But, you know, here's Vince McMahon pulling JR's head out of his ass on Monday Night Raw for no apparent reason. One of the worst, you know, segments, one of the worst angles, one of the, like, there was no reason for that, dude, other than just, you know, for Vince McMahon to take one good last shot at JR. JR has always been Vince McMahon's punching bag. And the reason that JR really is stepping away, and the reason why I think Vince McMahon, honestly, is going to be making a big mistake in the long run, is, you know, basically at SummerSlam weekend, they had the big WrestleMania 30 for the WWE 13. It wasn't really a press conference. It was just sort of like a gathering. JR was the host, and he had all sorts of guys from all different eras up there. Mick Foley, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Ric Flair. They brought the best of the best out there to talk about the best moments of WrestleMania 30. And Ric Flair rambled on about some random shit. Blackjack Mulligan, his son Reed that had just passed, John Cena's so-called drinking problem. For some reason, WWE thinks it's the worst thing in the world that Ric Flair said that John Cena drinks a six-pack every night. And before Ric Flair got there, you know, basically, he didn't drink at all. It's bullshit. I mean, like, if you want to bring Ric Flair in, you got to know what Ric Flair you're getting. It's kind of like when they just had Iron Sheik on Raw for whatever fucking reason he was there, one of the anniversary shows or 1000th show or something like that. And you can remember that Iron Sheik was about to go bananas on the mic, and they cut him off with the Santino music, and Santino came down there and they got the mic at Iron Sheik's hand. If you bring the Iron Sheik in, if you bring Ric Flair in, even if you bring Roddy Piper in, if you get them in the right mood, they're going to say some shit that you don't want to hear. But, you know, for, you know, Ric Flair to be on the outs with WWF, WWE, is just, you know, bonanzas. They brought back Edge to spike a rating because they knew they were going up against Monday Night Football last week. They're using Edge again on SmackDown to try and help that out, to try to help out Haven. I'm sure that more people watched Monday Night Raw because of Edge. The way they planned it out was they did the whole storyline where, you know, they kicked Edge out of the building. But most wrestling storylines they do this way, just because they kick you out of the building doesn't mean you're going to come back. I'm sure a lot of people stuck with that show all the way to the end to see Daniel Bryan kick Randy Orton in the head. For the one reason that they thought Edge was going to do it. If you watch Twitter during the show, if you, you know, watch people's videos during the show, and this, that, and the other, if you got live reactions, people really thought Edge was going to come out and he was going to face Orton at the end of the show some way or another. Or he was going to stand up against Triple H. People didn't believe that Edge was just going to leave empty-handed. How many times have you seen, just last year before, whenever it was, Rock got kicked out of the building, and somehow the security guard let Rock back into the arena because he had an extra ticket. He got to walk right down the ramp. He got to do a promo because he had a ticket. You know, it's so many times we've seen this go the other way. So I'm sure a lot of people just tuned in to see Edge, saw the way Edge got kicked off the show, and said, yeah, fuck it, I'm staying for this show. If you put Ric Flair on Monday Night Raw, don't put him with The Miz, like you were wasting him last year. But I mean, like, if you put him in any kind of angle right now, you put him with Triple H, you put him against Triple H, people are going to stick with that show and stick with it. And now, to getting to where I'm going to get to, make sure you go out and check out Freaking Out 88's bonus channel. He put up the radio show today talking about the reasons why JR was, you know, basically fired instead of them putting it over as a PR move as his retirement. You know, JR's a free agent. JR can do whatever the fuck he wants to. He was in this place a couple of years ago, and WWF snatched him back up because, they're not fucking retarded. JR could walk in right now and sign a deal with Dixie Carter. JR could walk over to ROH and sign with them. ROH already sat down and had meetings with JR a few years ago to try and get him to do their pay-per-views, to bring them more credibility to their shows and their product, which would have been a damn smart move. As of right now, if JR signs one of those deals, you're never going to get JR again at a Hall of Fame. You're never going to get JR again on a WWE DVD. He is a hot commodity that you need. He is a very smart mind. He has a lot of stories. He has a lot of background. Plus, if you fuck him over, I know you got Stone Cold, on contract where he's got to do what you want to do, but he has to do what you want to do when he wants to. And if his good old buddy JR's not going to be there, how often do you think you're going to be getting Stone Cold on the phone, You can throw all the money at the world at him, but if Stone Cold's not going there and Stone Cold's not having a good time, it's not going to be, all jolly Mary. There's a lot of things that go along with having JR on team. JR is a very well-respected man in the wrestling business, and for him to get treated this way, isn't that good? I know that he's not a full-time announcer right now, but the Mid-South DVD, he had a lot to do with it. That just came out on Tuesday. And, you got William Regal doing NXT. He's got no shot of ever being moved up to Monday Night Raw or SmackDown, people say. You just got Alex Riley put on the team. There's a lot of people who don't really like Alex Riley. He's got a lot of, growing up. He's got a lot of maturing. He's got to find himself and his character on the microphone. He can't be Alex Riley the wrestler anymore. He has to step back and become like Josh Matthews is. Josh Matthews has become a great announcer. If they're going to let go of JR, when the hell is King going to get let go? I mean, King's not looking all that great. He almost fucking died on live TV last year, and I'm sure that he's gone on and he's changed this, that, and the other, but, King's got to retire, and you got to find somebody to fill that role. You got JBL signed on a 1-year deal to basically be the commentator for SmackDown and Monday Night Raw, but he's got other side projects that he's going to want to do, and he's already pretty much well known that he doesn't want to do this all his life. He came in there, he's filling a void. From when the King was down, he sort of liked it. He signed for a 1-year deal. It's no guarantee that he's going to be there. There could be a huge gap, a huge hole to fill out there. We already know a guy like Mick Foley's not going to want to do it because he doesn't want people yelling in his ear all the time. Michael Cole is your #1 announcer, but who the hell are you going to get to work with him? These are the things that WWE needs to be looking at moving forward. Honestly, in closing, I think that it's very sad that JR is leaving. It's not the end of the world, but this could end up very good for TNA if they sign him. I know they got a lot of money problems and money issues right now, but I'm sure it wouldn't take the hugest check in the world to sign JR. You have JR and TNA. You could cut Taz, and Taz can do what Taz does, and I don't know, but there's a lot of people who don't like Taz, and I'm sure people would be just drooling over a team of TNA and JR. I don't think they've ever done anything at the same desk together that I can think of off the top of my head. You could go to Ring of Honor. You could have, I don't really want to fire Kevin Kelly. Kevin Kelly and Nigel McGuinness are a great team, but, JR is going to be an upgrade for any company out there. And to think that he's just going to sit at home and not do anything but make barbecue sauce, it's fucking stupid, WWE. He's one of the best guys in wrestling. For anybody who's my age, even younger than my age, to a little bit older than me, he's going to be the announcer that you think of when you think of WWE. He's going to be a little bit of WCW too. And, there's a lot of history that goes along with that. If you got shitty wrestling and JR's announcing, it doesn't really help it. But if you have, a little bit better than good wrestling to the great wrestling and JR's announcing, it makes it better for me. And I'm going to make sure I'm watching wherever he's on. So, that's me. That's Stevie Breach. JR got screwed. Peace out.